And we're live. Yay. Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the Rebel Roundtable. I am thrilled. I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have Robert Friedman here of Fearless Branding because I love all things branding and marketing. And Robert is the best in the business at it, at helping law firms and other professional services. So, Robert, welcome to the Rebel Roundtable. We have all kinds of fun telling lawyers all the things they're doing wrong and then letting them know the things they're doing right and helping them. So thanks for being here.
It is my pleasure. I'm glad it worked out. And it's we've known each other for a long time, so I'm glad we could do this.
Yes. So let's jump right in with, well, first of all, tell like what your business is, what you do, kind of your pitch out there, your shtick. So
Yeah. So my name is Robert Friedman. My business is called Fearless Branding. I'm based in Oakland, California. So I work with professional services and consulting firms to tell their story fearlessly so they win the clients they deserve. The core problem that I see is so many firms deliver extraordinary value, but they tell a boring story about it, or generic, or confusing. Usually for law firms, it's usually either boring or generic. They just look and sound like their competitors. So when their prospects check them out, they can't see the difference. So you're not answering that core question, why should we choose you when we have so many options? So I help them tell their story so it's clear. And you have to be fearless, which means you have to decide exactly who you're for and how
mhm.
you work differently so that you can really define for your right people why you're the right choice.
And that's actually very powerful. I love the name Fearless Branding because I feel like lawyers, especially, are very scared of any type of change or any type of new things. And it really does take you defining your actual client. And a lot of lawyers don't do that. So, talk through that. Why are lawyers so afraid of? I don't want to say afraid, but it is kind of like, what's the mental challenge going on there?
Yeah. Well, when you go to law school, I think you are trained to really understand the law, right? And how to
Mm-hmm.
apply the law. But there's no course to my knowledge about how you do law differently, right? How can you, if you're a bankruptcy attorney or a trust in estates or whatever it may be, personal injury, now you're in a field. How do you do it differently? I think those things, figuring out your way happens over time and it happens organically. And I think a lot of firms don't realize that if they are doing it, that they are doing it,
Yeah.
right? So it just comes, a lot of times, for example, one path is somebody will come out of law school, they'll work for a firm, they'll realize, this isn't the way that I would do it. So they start a business, right? They go into practice for themselves, they start a firm, and they realize, okay, this is the right way to win cases, take care of our clients. But then it's often not codified.
Right.
And often there's what I call hidden value, that they're doing these amazing things and they know it because it's in their bones.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's not being articulated clearly to prospects, so the prospects don't know why they should choose them. So there is fear
Mm-hmm.
because in order to truly be fearless, you have to, first of all, narrow your target market. It's not like anybody who needs whatever, who needs a estate plan. It's going to be a certain type of client,
Right.
certain kind of profile, demographic and psychographic. They're going to have specific needs. And then what about everybody else? That's where the fearless part comes in. What about those people that don't fit into your definition? But my contention is that if you are clear about your people will find you, and it is going to be easier and more lucrative if you are clear versus you keep your options open.
And I think that's one of the big, you said a whole bunch of good things in there. One of the big things, that's how things have always been done. Lawyers are very much in that mindset of this is how it's always been done. We don't go outside these, rules and kind of thing. And so it's hard to, even when they open their new firm, they copy a lot of the things that the old firm did, maybe not everything, but they copy, a lot of it. And just jumping outside that box is scary for them because everyone tells you you can't do it like that. And I love it when people say you can't do it like that because that means, well, it also means it's the right, like it's an overdue market. If someone says you can't do it, that means that there's something that you could do that no one else is doing. And I like that idea of that.
Right.
Um, Lawyers often think professional services, not just lawyers. I like to pick on lawyers because I am one, and a lot of things they do annoy me. But a lot of them think branding is like a logo and a color palette and a fancy website. Talk a little bit about why that's not any part of really branding. Because
Right. Well,
that's not how it works. Yeah. I mean, it's
it's
part.
part of it. It's
Yeah.
part of it, but it's an application of it. Can I answer that question by asking you a question?
Yeah.
What is the impact that identifying as Rebel Esquire, what impact has it had on your business?
That's a good question. So, the superhero, when I was trying to figure out what I was doing as working with law firms, working with lawyers, the idea of the superhero, it makes it not just the colors and the brand, but it makes that persona come out. And I want to attract the people that are looking to make changes and they want someone to come in and not necessarily save them. I'm not like a god complex happening here, but it's more of that person who is going to say, yes, you can do this, and not the traditional one. So that's what my Rebel Esquire came up as is I just decided to stop fighting against or stop doing the same things and fight against it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So I asked you that question because you have done what your result, Rebel Esquire, and the way that you express Rebel Esquire is the end product of what I do with my clients, right? So
Yep.
you said, is it your logo? Is it your website? Is it whatever? Those things should reflect your brand, but in and of themselves, they are not your brand.
Mm-hmm.
So your brand is number one, it is a focused answer to the question, why should we choose you? The way I approach it in my business is when you find a single meaningful idea that is true for you, that your ideal clients are going to resonate with, then that becomes the foundation, right? So that's the application, but the brand is the distillation of your value, your competitive advantage, so that you understand you basically there's a few things that you want to express to your market: who you are, what you do, who they are, what they need, and what they get.
Yep.
So if you can find that one idea, yours is Rebel Esquire, mine is Fearless,
Mm-hmm.
that becomes the central organizing principle for everything you say and do, then number one, the way you work, the way you communicate with prospects, and then your logo, your website, your everything is going to reflect that. But it's all about standing for who you are in a way that is authentic, but also connects to what do you actually do and the value you provide, right? So, what I see in contrast to that is a lot of boring mush, right? Like, I'm a whatever, I'm a business coach, I'm a bankruptcy attorney. And even if you're saying those things with credibility,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't help you build your business. You have to build your business kind of the old-fashioned way without the tool of having a true brand that helps your people understand, are they in the right place? Are they going to resonate with you? Should they be with you or just not? And not is okay. If it's going to be a bad fit, let's get there faster. Let me,
Right.
let me help you find somebody else who's going to be a better fit. But if they want to be a rebel, they're in the right place and you're letting them know.
And I think so lawyers waste a lot of time talking to people that aren't going to be good clients. And I
Really?
think part of that, because they just throw out there, I'm an estate planning attorney, I'm a bankruptcy lawyer. First of all, no one knows what that means. Like, no one knows what actual problem that solves other than like a big picture type thing. And then if you're not targeting, like, I don't want to talk to someone who doesn't want to change. And it wastes my time if then someone gets referred to me. Again, training my referral source. But if someone is wanting to talk to me about consulting or bankruptcy, but they don't want to hire a consultant or a bankruptcy attorney because this doesn't help. But a lot of lawyers do free and then they talk to everybody. And I think having the right brand helps you get better at time management, priorities, and setting boundaries too. So, whole side tangent there, but I
Yeah.
just see it a lot.
Well, it's not a tangent, right? Because what you were saying, oh, it's your logo, it's your website.
Yeah.
No, it's a filter for how you make decisions and
Mm-hmm.
what you do. And that's what I meant by your central organizing principle, right?
Yep. So this sounds I'm going to get lawyers saying this sounds woo woo and scary because how do
Doesn't
you
sound
start?
woo. Sounds really practical to me.
I think so
Like,
too, but it also sounds like, the psychology side of things, the emotional side of things. Branding is all emotion. Like, how do you make people feel to attract the ones that need your services? And so, how do you format this so that people can get into that, that one thing and they identify it that you can build a brand out of?
mhm. It's both emotional and logical, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, let's just use the example of a trial lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you stand up there in front of a jury and just state the facts as dryly as you possibly can, you stick to the facts, you know that is not going to have the impact that you integrate those facts into a narrative. You tell stories, you make it relatable. The jury will understand what you mean and what your intention is, and they're going to connect with you and trust you, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you present your case in that way. And it's
Yep.
the same thing for a brand. I mean, it really is. It's like the same thing. It's you're creating your case.
Mm-hmm.
And so it
I
has
like
to
that.
be both emotional and logical.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So I often hear from lawyers that our work speaks for itself. We don't need branding. Thoughts?
Well, the issue with that is that then the people that really know what the value of your work is are the clients that you have completed working with or have done a substantial amount of work with. And
Right.
everybody else doesn't know it, right? So
Yep.
it creates this conundrum that when you have a new prospect, even if they came in on a great referral from a client that's worked with you,
Mm-hmm.
they have not gone on that journey that the client that loves you has gone on. And so, number one, it's what I said earlier. There's likely hidden value that you're doing things that are other than the basics, right?
Right.
Like I I'm going to create a trust for you and it is going to hold up and
Right.
it's going to work. It's not going to be challenged. Great. That's your table stakes.
But
But then
anyone can do that.
right, and
I
not
mean,
anyone. I mean, you have to cross a
yeah.
certain bar,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You have to you have to have a certain level of expertise to
Right.
deliver that. But
Right. But it's not a differentiator.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Sorry.
I think it's lazy to say the work speaks for itself. I mean, lazy and it's hurting you.
Mm-hmm. It is. And what I keep saying, I keep joking about blueprints. Like, I've been on this whole blueprint kick lately, where like my background has said, sure, download another blueprint. Because what makes your law firm the one people want to go to, that you have the clients you deserve to have, is not something that you can download in a template. It's either your client experience. It's something that you're doing that makes your clients rave about you. And I want to get that through to people, is that this isn't a system that you set up. This is a bespoke design thing that you specifically do. You may not know you do it. And that's what you're good at, Robert, is helping people figure out what that thing is. But you have to be able to identify it. I have a pretty good, for some reason, that's one of my things, is I can usually spot that in people, but I don't do like the whole branding part of it. I can usually spot though, like, what's the difference? And I'm really sick of blueprints because it's not the same. Yeah.
Well, you can have a blueprint, but then the way that you take what is unique to you and your firm and apply it into, let's say,
Yes.
that template
Yeah.
requires deep thinking and
Yeah.
introspection, right? Because what I often see is that the answers that professional service firms kind of put into those kind of templates are generic, right?
Yep.
They're
Yep.
they think they're saying something brilliant. They think they're saying something different.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go through the step of saying, but how does that compare to our competitors? Is anybody else saying something like this? And can
Mm-hmm.
anybody else say something like this? And how do we find that core, tell a story about it, and connect it to the things that are uniquely yours?
Yeah. Do you have problems with professional services, like, that's really uncomfortable for them to start thinking that big question like that when they start being very introspective of what they do? Do they struggle with that?
Uh-huh. So that is such an interesting question because the way I work with clients, I actually don't expect them to find their thing. That's
Mm-hmm.
my job, right? So what I see is that so I'm just going to tell the story
Yep.
of my first interactions with Marjorie Heinrich, who
Yep.
is my client that you know. And Marjorie came to me and said, "Why is my marketing not working?"
Okay.
Because she knew in her bones that she and her firm had extraordinary experience, and yet she was seeing firms that she knew were not as good as her firm win these huge cases. And she's like, what am I doing wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer to that question is she had a powerful story, but she wasn't telling it. So, cut to the chase, the story that we created was a modern day retelling of David and Goliath.
Yep.
And her brand line is "We will be your warriors."
Yep.
I got there because Marjorie authentically told me why she does what she does. She has this powerful story about she had started her career on the defense side, working for big insurance companies. She spent 20 years doing that. And then got seated as a juror on a murder trial. And that experience, and I'm always looking for, like, there's always a turning point or something that's pivotal, helped her to rethink what is the justice system all about. And she just finished that trial and
Yep.
I knew I have to make a change. I'm
Yep.
fighting on the wrong side. And so she took off her black hat and put on her white hat and started fighting for plaintiffs, people who had been seriously injured, who really needed somebody who knew how to fight against those giants, those huge insurance companies and
Yep.
municipalities, etc., who could win on behalf of these people who really needed her to fight for them, to
Mm-hmm.
be their warrior, right?
Yep.
So in that process, I never expected Marjorie to figure out, well, I'm the warrior. That's not
Right.
her job. Marjorie's job was to know who she was, know what her values were, know why she made the decisions she made, why she works the way she does, what her purpose is. If you are clear on those things, then I mean, I guess it's possible that you can do everything yourself, but I don't expect my clients to do that. I expect my clients to know who they are, and then I see the things that
Right.
they are so close to and
Yep.
turn that into a narrative that works.
And I love that story. Marjorie's a fantastic personal injury attorney, and I loved her rebranding that she went to of the warrior theme because it made so much sense, and she fits that style so well. And I knew that you had done that as part of your branding with her. But I think what a lot of people think they have to do it themselves, and the outside perspective of people who are really good at different things, branding, systems, things like that. Um, I can't emphasize enough for people watching this, having that outside perspective, even if you have an inkling or an idea, that outside perspective is worth $1 million because you can then take that and build out your entire world based on that. And it makes you different, and it makes the right people call you, and it makes it so much easier to do marketing in the future because you have this brand out there. And I think lawyers are notorious. We give really good advice. We are really bad at following our own advice. And we're really bad at looking at ourselves for things. And you need that outside perspective, I think. So,
So you use this figure and you used it kind of in a, idiomatic way, like it's worth $1 million.
yeah.
But that's often a literal starting point that I have with clients. If you got this right, if so, I take them through just a series of very simple statements.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in what you do? Are you committed to growth? Is your message, does it sufficiently differentiate your firm so that your best prospects understand why we should choose you? And if they
Mm-hmm.
say no, right, on a scale of 1 to 10, if they're not, 8, 9, 10, then it's clear that there's some work to do. So if you got that right, what would that mean financially for your business? And so you have to decide, for some firms, it becomes so clear that we have a big upside. If we just got that right and we can do that consistently and efficiently, we'd be landing the better clients, we'd be landing the better cases, and it creates so much flow on the
Yep.
front end, right? And
Yep.
so it really is about that. So, just to your point about lawyers, maybe not taking advice and not working with experts, really ask yourself, what is your potential and
Mm-hmm.
what are you not capturing because you have a body of work to do, right? Then you have to decide, do you want to do that work? And if so, you want to try and do it yourself, or do you want to collaborate? Do you want to hire an expert?
Yep.
And it's all legitimate. You just have to really look at your own business plan and understand where you're trying to get to, and then what is the most efficient way and the most effective way to get there. And to your point, sometimes, if you have achieved a certain level of success where you're not starting from zero, that it really makes sense to, leverage some of that success, invest in your brand or your systems or whatever is
Whatever. Yep.
primary, right? And
Yep.
then that's going to get you to the next level.
And I think people miss out too on the opportunity cost of like still spinning your wheels for how long
Right.
you spin your wheels and try to develop it yourself. So that's my other complaint. But
Yeah, I agree.
yeah.
There's a lot of people, just one quick thing, that spend a lot
I,
of time one-on-one networking, right? But don't really have a powerful story to leverage in their networking
yep.
and haven't created that foundation. Because when you have a networking conversation, you can build a relationship, and that's a good thing. But
Mhm.
it's highly inefficient, right? It's just you're saying one thing, and then nobody else knows that.
Right. And if you don't have a good story, no one's going to remember you. Like I could go to lunch with 20 different estate planning attorneys, and the one that I'm going to remember is the one that had something different to say.
Right.
And so I pick on estate planning attorneys a lot because I just get it's just an area that I think people think is easy, that it's not easy to do the work. And then they think it's just forms. It's similar to bankruptcy. So I think estate planning attorneys get a bad rap sometimes.
I'm
So
working with an estate planning firm right now, and it's the critical thing because it's so easy to just present your firm in a generic way.
it is. So one, and I do have to try to wrap this up, but we could go on all day. And we've talked about this before. Like we should just have like our own show that we do regularly because there's so many things we could talk about. I've been getting a lot of questions on like the mindset shift. And so when someone comes to you, are they ready for what you're about to do with them? Um, or do you have to convince them in order to get them to think about these types of things?
There's this cool guy who has written some brilliant books named Blair Enns. Check him out. Win Without
Okay.
Pitching Manifesto, The Four Conversations.
Okay.
Uh, One of my favorite quotes from him is, "You have no business trying to convince anyone of anything."
Mm-hmm.
So I never try to convince.
Right. Me
What
neither.
I'm looking for are clients that, frankly, are pissed off and frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we not why are we not getting traction with the types of clients that we really want?
Mm-hmm.
We should be winning clients that are better, and we're not getting there. So I'm looking for that level of, this is a problem and I am fed up with this and we need to do something about it. In particular, when they're already investing their money, their time in marketing,
Yep.
right? That they're already doing, and frankly, they are doing the right things. There's often nothing wrong with their marketing strategies and tactics.
Right.
The
Yep.
problem is that they're putting a boring story into those marketing strategies and tactics. And so I don't even want to say they're not working,
Mm-hmm.
but they're just not getting them that far. I use this
They're
metaphor.
not as effective as they could be. Yeah.
A bike ride. Are you on an old school beach cruiser? Are you on a finely tuned racing bike? Either way, you're doing a bike ride and you're doing the pedal strokes, you're doing the work. One is going to get you so much further faster.
I agree. And so when I get this question, I'm like, who are you trying to convince? Because a lot of times it's the partners in a firm where one's like, yeah, I want to make some changes. I want to do things. And their stick in the mud is not letting them
Mhm.
do that. Or it's junior associates who are like, we need to do other things. And then I'm often convincing them to go on their own because if
Hmm.
leadership isn't committed to this kind of thing, it's surround yourself with people who encourage you to be yourself and be creative and not people are going to hold you back is kind of my
Right.
end advice on that.
Sometimes it's impossible to convince somebody. It's like having a religion or a philosophy. If somebody is really wired a certain way, you're not going to change them. You've got
Yep.
to just go figure out what's the structure for you to live on your purpose.
Yep. Exactly. I'm just going to keep encouraging that. So on the Rebel Roundtable, we do have a Spotify playlist called the Rebel Roundtable Anthems. And it's songs that guests have said over our of what you're like, what you pump on the radio or on your iPod or whatever kids are using these days to play music. What's your rebel anthem?
Um, I'm looking, John Batiste.
Okay.
There is a great song, and in particular, the music video for it. Uh,
Okay.
it's called Freedom. Did you check
Mm-hmm.
it out? It
I
is
did check it out.
it is so kind of joyful and soulful, and it just like gets you to your bones.
Okay. Well, we will get that added to the Rebel Roundtable Anthem playlist on Spotify, and everyone can be joyful with freedom and get that added. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for jumping in. Um, and I'm sure we'll have to do this again soon. But really appreciate it. How can people find you? Where's the best place for them to find you?
Fearlessbranding.com and Robert Friedman on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find.
Sounds good. And I will add that to the description when we're off the air here. So thank you so much. Love talking to you. Love your brain. Love how you think about all things branding for professional services.
I
And
love your brain too, Jen.
Have a good Friday, everyone. And I'll see you not next Friday because it's 4th of July, but the following Friday we'll be back live at 9 a.m. Pacific. Thank you all.